to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast.
All right, welcome back to the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. This is episode number 73. A bit of a new evolution on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast for many reasons, but some exciting things coming. Stick around this episode for those announcements. We got to tease them up front to keep you around. Hell of a week in the Warzone. Things are clicking. The Cowboys really been steaming. I think his KD's skyrocketing out of the stratosphere this season. But that said, let's turn to the Cowboy. This time I'm really turning to him. In a digital way and ask him, Cowboy, how was your week in the Warzone?
Well. My week was pretty good in the Warzone. I'm starting to experiment a little bit more with a couple of different ARs, playing some good games, got a couple of impressive wins, still dealing with some incredibly sweaty lobbies. But things are going well, actually. I had a pretty fun week in the Warzone. You and I got to play a few times, which was a delightful surprise. I think we're going to talk a little bit later about the Rebirth Iron Trials trios, which I had a couple of victories with a couple of different guys with this week. And then you hopped in, jumped into quads, didn't get a victory. So I'll leave that there. But how was your week in the Warzone?
Oh, how short and fickle your memory is. In fact, we actually capped that session off with a win, so I will not accept this type of hearsay and slander on the Cowboy, from the Cowboy on this podcast.
I see. Here's the thing is that we have a rule that we never stop playing. No one can hop off if we get a victory. So I don't think your memory is as accurate as you recall. So I'm just going to leave that there again.
Well, you can go to the log. This is an open and closed thing. In fact, it was one of our dear friends who always pushes us to keep running, and that was Smeeden, who said, "Hey, Tron, guess what? I'm actually logging off after this."
Oh, I remember that, actually. You're right. I do remember that.
That's right. We capped it off with a win, but a hell of a week for us on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast, in the Warzone Amateur Hour, and on Rebirth mostly. A lot of stuff going on. The first off was kind of what they took away, which was, I think, right around the time or a few days after the last week's episode aired. Raven issued a note that they've temporarily disabled vehicles on Rebirth Island while they investigate an issue.
Yeah, I've noticed this week that the helicopters are not there. One of the things that we've been enjoying doing is dropping biolabs. Factory, what is it? The Biolab Factory? Biolabs? Just
Bioweapons Lab?
Bioweapons Lab, there it is. And going down to the showers down there and trying to grab one of those special key cards. And if you take that over to what used to be the security area, now called Stronghold, what you'll get if you go to the bottom of one of those buildings, you get a couple of specialist tokens and a loadout marker. So we had been going to Biolabs. I was the chopper man. I would get the chopper, land on the roof, obviously off a couple guys, get in the chopper, head on over to Stronghold, grab a couple of specialist tokens in the loadout. But I noticed this week when we tried that, right off the rip, there was no helicopter. So your transportation boy didn't necessarily have the tools available to help the team out. So didn't do that this week. So I have noticed the lack of vehicles on the Rebirth Island, specifically the helicopters.
Well, I got to ask you, how many real games has it gone that smooth as you just described it?
I mean, it's gone smooth enough to where we've tried it again and again and again. I think we had it happen a few times, but actually, strangely, and probably rightfully, at the end of this week, what we started doing was just dropping Stronghold and waiting for the team to bring the key card to us, and then we would slaughter them, steal the key card, and get what we needed, as opposed to having to do the whole mission ourselves.
I mean, that's kind of like, you start off as the amateur, the guy doing all the grunt work, fighting the people in bioweapons basement, getting the key card, sweating it out. If there's no vehicles, you're fucking on foot. traversing literally the entire map, only for some sweat lord a-holes to be like waiting for you to take your shit. I feel like there's like some sort of thing that happens in nature or in movies where it's like, you know, it's like the bully kid waiting while you got your fucking lemonade stand on the corner, sweating your ass off, squeezing fresh squeezed lemons, selling them for $0.10 a cup. And then you go home and some asshole's waiting to take your chump change, go buy himself the ice cream. Like, so you kind of became the bullies here is what I'm understanding. Is that right?
Yes. But the only correction I'll make to that is that there isn't necessarily a version of that where we're traversing by foot all the way over there. We do have the zip up, a little like or what are they called? They're like pigs, right? It's like or a balloon, the balloons.
That's
I don't know.
Pink Floyd.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought when I saw them. I literally thought it was fucking like the Roger
Floyd
Waters
concert.
That's what I thought. That's what I think every time I see those things. But they're balloons. Technically, yes, they're balloons. So we would zip
balloons,
up.
I believe, is the proper nomenclature there.
I refer to them as Roger Waters pigs that you can scale up. But yes, they are the redeploy balloons. Those things have greatly helped getting from bio weapons labs all the way over to strongholds. So that's what we've been doing. But yeah, we haven't. Yeah, as I've said, we now are just dropping stronghold, waiting to slaughter, and it feels good.
Well, going back to the original question, them temporarily disabling vehicles, I feel like we kind of called that, as we often do on this podcast, when they reintroduced the fucking attack helicopters. Like, what is the longest I think this is the longest we've had the attack helicopters in the game, but for whatever reason, it seems like they caused this problem, some sort of problem, and it's kind of hilarious. Like, it's a sign, some kind keep them out of the fucking game.
Yeah, it's some, well, I don't mind them being in the game because the attack nature of those helicopters is a really shitty, like, gun that you can barely hit anything with. It's like basically hip fire with the fucking shittiest hip fire weapon they make. It like literally just sprays like circles of bullets. It's not like that attack helicopters are some like crazy advantage there. But yeah, it does seem that way. Every time they introduce the attack helicopters, within like a week or two, there's like crazy bugs. People are fucking living in the gas and destroying the game and the integrity of the game. So yeah, they got to figure that out. It's like, why don't you just design a new fucking helicopter? It sounds like they're just using the same shit over and it just doesn't work.
So my question is, because I wasn't really paying too much attention, so on the 11th is when they disabled vehicles, and then on the 13th, they re-enabled them with the weekly patch, and I couldn't remember, like, are the attack helicopters back, or are they now gone?
I haven't played a game in Rebirth where there are any helicopters whatsoever. So It's not even normal ones. There's no helicopters there anymore at all.
I think as of the 13th, they might be, but maybe we need to pay closer attention. Because I think, yeah, when we were playing our round, there was helis. I just can't remember if they had the stupid guns or not.
Oh, you're right, actually. I do recall. Yeah, and I think they had the guns. The last time I got in a chopper, it had the guns. Because, yeah, Pole hopped in driving. I hopped into the... This is a great story. So he goes in to drive, right? And I hop in as a passenger. And I'm like, oh, I need to switch seats, obviously. Which I thought was the R1 trigger. But that was actually my Molotov cocktail that I threw. And I almost burned myself to death because it hit the side of the chopper and almost killed me. So I actually, now that I'm recalling this, yeah, there are still choppers in the game. And they do have, I think they're attack helicopters, I think.
Well, now that you're remembering it, the amateurism is coming back to me. I'm having my own amateur flashback, and you probably remember this in one of the games we played as I hopped in a heli, and I'm with you. I can attest the helis with the gunner are back.
I remember this. I totally remember. Yeah.
In the helicopter, trying to hop out. For whatever reason, I'm on bumper jumper, and it's mentally a block for me to figure out how to jump out. And so I ended up switching through all the seats as my helicopter careens to the ground. And sure enough, I hopped in a gunner seat once or twice. My mind remembers and crashed to the ground.
I definitely recall that because I had this van. I was on top of prison looking towards the water tower, and I remember seeing the helicopter falling very quickly, and I just hear you I think you just simply mentioned, how do you exit the helicopter? How do you exit I can't exit the helicopter. I'm just watching this thing crash down, and then all of a sudden, boom, it shows you that you need to be revived. So I definitely remember that.
Well, speaking of attack helicopters and the miniguns attached to them, kind of brings us to our next topic, which you just touched on earlier about the Easter egg with the bioweapons keycard. Well, I think it was part of this, community rebirth reinforced event. We had done we'd gotten the kills to unlock the weapon swap station, and then we did enough weapon swaps to unlock the armored cars, and then we blew up enough armored cars to unlock, I think, the final phase of the Rebirth Reinforced event, and that is these golden vaults, which in itself brought a brand new Easter egg to Rebirth Island, and as is kind of historically a thing we do here on the podcast with Tron, typically reluctant, and that is go and chase these fucking Easter eggs. And we got 100%, I think, success rate so far. We did the old one back with the briefcase and the photos, but why don't you tell our audience about this brand new Easter egg that was going on with these golden vaults?
So yeah, when someone says golden vault, I get excited, and I didn't necessarily know what that meant, but what I was told is that you have to drop prison blocks specifically, and inside of the prison block, there's those toilets. Obviously, there's the shitters that I guess the prison people
the cell block.
The cell block. But what I don't understand, and maybe this is a tangent, so that cell block is essentially just like a giant bathroom, right? It's like a bathroom area. All those stalls are just toilets, right? There's 40 toilets inside of prison block. There's no
little
cell.
Flat bed.
No, it's literally you walk in there and it's a fucking toilet. It's just a bathroom. I feel like it's all bathrooms, right? So whatever. So I don't know why it's that way. I'm not sure who designed that, but whatever.
Stitch.
So there's all these toilets. It's Stitch. Yeah, he's like a big bathroom guy. Whatever he's into, he's got his own thing. And that's totally fine. But whatever you're into. So basically there's all these toilets and some of the doors are open, right? And then you can go in there, and we've all been there when we're in prison block and we're fucking running around, and maybe you have to hit the toilet real quick to hide in there. If someone is coming down the prison block and you're going to die, but you just hide in there for a second to stay alive. But inside of those prison blocks on top of the toilet, and I'm no plumber, but I know there's a term for the water kind of canister that sits on top of a
tank,
classic American, a tank. Okay, a water tank. That's actually totally right. The water tank on top of let's just say a classic American toilet has in the prison blocks on top of the water tanks, there's these fucking things now, and they're it almost looks like a remote control for a television, but there's a red light that's beeping on the front right of the remote control. Someone left the remote control on top of the toilet, basically, in this prison block. And what you have to do is you got to drop in there, and when you go up to them, you have to hit on controller, it's square, but it's essentially the initiation. You probably have the term for this. Well, what is the button to engage
the
something?
Action
it's
button, I think.
The action button. So the action button, which it doesn't prompt. There's no prompt for it. You walk up to the top of the toilet, you see this little remote control, and if it's beeping red, you can hit the square button or whatever the action button is on whatever console, PC, whatever you're playing on, and it deactivates that red light. If you do that 6 times, and they're kind of these remotes are sporadically hidden across the prison block on top of these toilet tanks, you get, I thought it was 6. We decided it was 6, but I think we got one in 5 at one point. Do you recall that, or was that just Sparks and I?
I feel like I did 5 at one point, and I didn't get a fucking phone call.
I swear we did 5 at one point, but I think it may be 6. Maybe we were off on our math. I don't know. But you do 6
to
of those.
Summarize, in case you got lost there with all that crazy toilet and plumbing talk,
I'm just giving the people what they want to know.
Drop into cell block. You look on top of the toilets. You'll find these flashing red remotes. You get 6 of them, and then what happens?
Phone rings. So on the second level of prison block, it's, I would say, in the middle corridor. There's that rectangular middle area of the prison block. On the, I want to say, is that the north end? I think it's the north end. Well, one of the ends, there's a phone ringing. Wherever you are, you hear the phone ringing, and you literally go up to the phone. I'm assuming you have to push a button. I actually wasn't one of the people that was prepared to answer the phone, but you answer the phone, and then it reads off, I believe, 8 digits, 8 single-digit numbers, and you have to be fucking ready to write those numbers down, because basically that code, the numbers they give you, is a code to unlock the golden bunker that has a bunch of shit inside of it. And I will give you a tip of advice. One thing, when you are picking up that phone, you do not want to do it when there is like any kind of gunfight happening around. It's hard to hear the individual on the other end of that phone telling you the single digits. You don't want Tron asking how's it going while you pick up the phone, and him talking over the other person talking, which did happen, and we lost the first number. But luckily, friend of the pod Sparks was intuitive enough to go through every digit, which was the first digit he missed in the 8-digit sequence. So just a couple of tips there. You totally blew it for us, Tron, but luckily Sparks had the wherewithal to understand that he could try a bunch of different digits to get us the shit. But that's how it works. Once you get the digits, you go to one of the fucking golden egg or golden bunkers, and then inside of it, do you want to tell us what's inside of it? Because there was a little bit of conflict on what happened once we got there.
Before we get to the contents of the vault, let me just say, back to this revisionist history that's been going on this episode. Your boy Tron, you got the 6 fucking remotes, but your boy Tron was basically like the warden from Shawshank Redemption, running around that cell block, breaking knees, literally killing people in the hallway, like steaming, guarding those cells. So sorry if I was kind of like, hey guys, going on while like 1, 2, whatever the fucking numbers were on the mic. All right. But
I just want to point out that I believe that the warden from Shawshank Redemption ended up getting incarcerated for fraud or something like that. He ended up going to prison. I
believe he also went to jail crying like a baby. So we'll just leave that there. But that said, so, we sweated it out as a trio. I'm not going to point fingers or, give credit. It was a team effort. We got the fucking blip, radios. We got the code. Sparks wrote it down. And in terms of tips for y'all, this is a non-mean attacking one from my teammate, but if you're able to turn on subtitles before attempting this, strongly recommended, so that when they read the code, it is displayed on your screen in fucking, plain terms.
Is that a thing? Can you turn on subtitles while you're playing a video game?
I'm almost certain you can, for accessibility reasons, especially. So like when, the guy gives his, the fucking resurging and whatever it is, enemy dropping in, then, you can have that on screen. Yeah. We got the codes. We got the vault. I had to find you guys. You guys were like at the vault sweating. It's literally like in a movie scene where the guy's trying to like crack the vault, and then you got the other guy like, oh, fucking hurry up, they're closing in on us. And
there was another team that was pushing us during that. It was fucking crazy. I believe you were actually up top, being the enforcer, strangely.
That's the warden. So that said, you finally, Sparks, in a moment of brilliance, cracks the missing digit and solves the code, opens the vault. I get over there, and inside the vault is a lot of goodies, tons of satchels, which we didn't need. 2, but not 3 specialist tokens.
And who got the specialist tokens?
And Tron and Sparks collected those quickly, as the Cowboy was the last one in the golden vault. But there was also, which was the first time we've seen this on Rebirth, I think in quite a while, is the Foresight perk, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So we knocked down all that.
Yeah. And what happened immediately after you got the specialist token?
Well, as we said, the heat, was closing in on us amid breaking into this, and sure enough, they were on us. One of the things, as you know, with specialists, you get all the perks, so you get high alert, and so I saw both peripheries flashing, and I was gunned down in a blaze of glory. Probably had the specialist for a good 45 seconds.
And I did not have specialists, and you know what I did? I survived. I killed that other team, and if I had specialist, I swear, all high alert is good for you, is that it lets you know that you're about to die.
Yeah, that's accurate. All right.
No, not the greater community. You personally, it lets you know that you're about to die.
Well admitted. All right, badass. But that said, we did it. We completed the fucking Golden Vault's Easter egg. chalk another one off for the Warzone Amateur Hour, bros.
Yeah, it was it's nice to mix up the gameplay with having a mission like that, as opposed to just trying to survive, trying to get a couple of kills, trying to level up a weapon. If you have like a mission where you can, you're trying to crack the Easter egg, trying to get into a bunker or a vault, it is fun. I'm all about them. I feel like you're a little bit hesitant to try these endeavors, but when we do it, you have to admit it's always fun.
I mean, it's a good point. It gives you a purpose, It's like the old retiree widow getting up out of bed every day. Like, it gives you a reason to live.
Wow.
Jesus. It is quite a dopamine hit when you pull it off. Even though I had, whatever it was, specialist for a little bit, we did have foresight, which not all that useful in Rebirth, because as you quickly learn, the circle fucking rotates like crazy in the end game. So like you can look at the smallest circle, know where it's going to end, but you can't camp there. You fucking not going to be there for minutes.
When if I recall correctly, the circle that was projected that we needed to be at was on that very aggressive kind of like hill cliffside right up between the prison and harbor, right? It was like on that like no man's land where there's like a cliff, and it's like, what do you can't camp that. Like, we either are holding prison or you're holding harbor, and you have to move up, but it was not the most beneficial foresight, you could say.
Yeah, so I think we came in second, but we did it. So let's then move on to the big news of the week, which kind of a storyline we've been tracking for a while now, and one I think we gave up hope on. I mean, at least we kind of said it so much last week.
No. You gave up hope on. I went to bed for the last 3 weeks since we brought this up, praying for my man to come to the map, and I'll let you finish your train of thought.
Well, even last week, though, we talked about leaks and rumors that have come true, and this was one we felt, they hadn't quite delivered, but sure enough, if the drama really true to the essence of the subject matter here, because just when you think there's a sleeping giant slumbering in silence underneath the bosom of the Pacific, you never know when it could be arising. And with that, we got this week a trailer from Call of Duty, not just Warzone. This is the Big Daddy Call of Duty account, dropped a new story cinematic for Warzone and Vanguard.
Yes, and I will say, we like to shit on the cinematics. It's something that Tron and I have done, very successfully, I'll add, in the past. This cinematic may have been the best cinematic they've ever released, and I'm saying that, obviously in part because of what it is teasing and what we're about to get to, but also the visual language, not to get all artsy-fartsy on this, but the way that they made this was so well done. I was watching this with an awe that I don't think I've ever felt watching one of these historically shitty cinematics. This was very, very well done. I honestly, it evoked Saving Private Ryan for the old 10-inch cowboy. I thought this was so well done, and it was so cool, and I loved it. And that is regardless of how it ends, which I'd like for you to now touch on. What happens? What is the point of it?
Well, but we got to keep the suspense building here.
Okay.
Because I agree with you. The quality of the cinematic, the quality of the animation, like incredibly realistic. But yeah, the action choreography, I don't know if they fired, they heard our podcast, our critiques, and like, look, we got to fucking fire that team, get somebody that can really make some good cinematics here for Vanguard, because they clearly did that. And yeah, the storyline's like, we're following it from literally start to finish so far. It's fucking a pretty simple line. Like, there was the Vanguard team hunting down the ex-Nazis. They go into the mountains to find this new, gas they're making, Nova 6 or whatever, or fucking, what is it? Something Nebula 5.
Nebula.
And we think we've stopped them, but then now we find out in the newest cinematic that Nebula 5 got out, and it's being like used all over the fucking globe. But the big bombshell at the end is they say something like, the Nazis may have inadvertently like awakened a giant or a beast or something like we don't understand. And then in the background, they have this like just like kind of I gave that episode a few weeks ago, like a in the fucking background. So what does it mean?
Well, before, just to tease it even more, to get into what it means, I just want to say right off the top of this story cinematic, there's one line that is so fucking good. I don't know if it's Stitch or if it's like, who's the guy? Arden? What is his name?
I mean, Stitch isn't in this story.
Stitch ain't around anymore, but like, I think it's Alden or whatever the main
the
guy.
old timer.
Yeah. He goes, "Those little Nazi fucks." And I thought that was such a great line. It's so fucking good. They're really leaning into the Nazi situation here, which, is playing to the benefit. I don't know how it evokes what we're about to say, but basically, yes, as you very well did, like this bird-like reptilian, I will hint at, sound of that sound that comes. You want to know what it is? Well, they don't actually give it to us, but what happened was, and I don't know if you want to talk about this, but again, on the Call of Duty Twitter, like people started like taking this audio file and running it through audio programs. And when you look at the waveform, if for those audio engineers out there, as Tron and I both are, because obviously we host a podcast, we have a background in sound production and sound post-production. If you bring it into like a spectral like analyzer in an audio, whether you're using Audacity, whether you're using like the RX, whatever, these are all, special things or whatever, it actually says in the spectral graph, it says monsters are real. That's what it doesn't say it like audibly when you listen to it, but it literally reads monsters are real inside of the spectral graph of the audio. And what does that hint at, Tron?
Godzilla.
Oh, baby. Godzilla is fucking coming, and I could not be more excited. I have absolutely no clue in hell how Godzilla is going to interact on Caldera. It's got to be Caldera, right? I mean, maybe it's a rebirth, but either way, how in the fuck does like a 70-story tall creature come in and fucking interact on this fucking map? I have no idea, but they're making it very clear that's what's about to happen.
Yes, indeed. Just when we thought it was a rumor or a whisper in the wind, we get real, teased, but real confirmation that that's clearly what's coming, because on top of that, as the Cowboy said, they tweet out this video. Then they have a follow-up tweet of just the soundbite. So they made it easy for you to for the community at large to figure it out. They said, "We've uncovered a device broadcasting a mysterious frequency from the cache. Further spectral analysis is needed to decipher the signal. Can any soldiers help?" And then, yes, pretty early on in the repliers, someone throws up a screenshot of the spectrogram, and it says, like, I'm curious how they created that. I don't know if you could like scrub that out in like something like Isotope, but that's neither here nor there. They made it, as the Cowboy said, so you read the spectrograph, it says monsters are real, so clearly enough. But if that wasn't clear enough, then just the other day they issued the Season 3 teaser. And the users are going to analyze every frame of these things, and sure enough, they find that there's frames, little flashes in this trailer of clearly what looked like Godzilla and King Kong weapons blueprints.
Wait a fucking second. So I didn't realize that there was, as we're talking about this, the monsters are real. Is obviously monster is pure. Jesus Christ, I'm having a hard time speaking right now. It's pluralized. Monsters. We're talking about monsters. There's multiple monsters here. So it's not maybe just Godzilla. Are you telling me that there's multiple monsters?
I mean, from the beginning, we said it was Godzilla and King Kong. I think we just both really like Godzilla more than King Kong, but King Kong's kind of cool.
Yeah, well, I think Godzilla's cooler for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, he fucking is a cool dinosaur as opposed to like a giant gorilla or something. But
yeah, well, it's more realistic, I think.
I pinged you some photos of these blueprints, which again, the dragon Godzilla one clearly looks like, Godzilla. It's got the glowing eyes, the spikes down the spine. And then the Godzilla one is clearly like a gorilla on the blueprint.
The King Kong one. King Kong,
excuse me. So all but confirmed. The rumor has come true. Cowboys' dreams are becoming a reality. What are your final thoughts on, Godzilla and King Kong the monsters coming to the war zone?
Nightmares becoming dreams, frankly becoming wet dreams. I'm so excited about this. I just am so curious about how they're going to make multiple monsters interact on this map. It wasn't so long ago we had that little shithead Krampus on the map. I really hope they don't minimize the gargantuan nature of Godzilla. I mean, if Godzilla is anything, he's a big motherfucking reptile. And I hope that they bring the full force of Godzilla. I hope they don't have some Krampus-sized fucking Godzilla causing havoc on multiple points of the map. I want the biggest creature you can ever imagine, because that's what we're talking about. These are just giant monsters. I want that. I'm foaming with excitement about how this is going to unfold. I don't know how it's going to happen.
I mean, they've hyped it up a lot. The Cowboys clearly hyped. They better deliver because, they're superhuman, larger than life, monsters. So they better deliver. I agree. It better not be some little fucking gorilla that beats his chest, runs around, and then causes you problems. It should be bursting out of the ocean, fucking blasting, sonic wave destruction through a village, and you better run and take cover.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that obviously Caldera is a South Pacific island. That's kind of the World War II South Pacific. That's what that is the as we would say, the arena in which we are fighting. Godzilla, obviously one of the most legendary Japanese monsters out there. It makes sense that they would bring something like this with the Japanese culture and the lore to the South Pacific island. It all makes sense. What my question is, and I'm more of a Godzilla man than a King Kong man. King Kong originated on an island, and I don't know if you have the answers to this, but I'm curious, was that in the South Pacific as well? How does King Kong tie into this? Because it logically, you can tie the dots between Godzilla, South Pacific, Caldera, boom, boom, boom. But where does King Kong fit into this?
Well, I definitely actually feel in terms of the environment, they're native to, I feel the jungles of Caldera are much more in line with where you see the storylines for the King Kong films. Like you said, they go to Skull Island or whatever the fuck it's called, find him lurking around, doing his own thing. They always go and fuck with him. So, in the end, I think he's really a victim in this story. But that said...
No. But before we move on from that, I just want to make it very clear that I also find King Kong a victim. We go and mess with his world, and that is not cool. I hope that everyone recognizes King Kong is a massive chiller. He's doing his thing. And it's always the aggressors that are starting that fight. Godzilla... different story. Godzilla is the aggressor. He is coming in to fucking Kyoto hot, whipping his tail around, laser beam out of his fucking eyes, destroying shit,
Yeah, but I feel I think in the newest one, didn't they recruit him to save the world? They were getting terrorized by the other fucking giant monsters, and he showed up and he went to bat for humankind.
Yeah,
so the girl from Stranger Things had a connection with him or some shit. I didn't see it.
I did see it. It wasn't as good as I thought it should have been. But yes, I think if you... okay, let's not get granular with recent releases, but Godzilla as a whole, I'm saying.
Okay.
As the lore and the mythical, again, coming back to, I cannot wait, and I do not understand how they're going to make this mythical creature interact with this island. We've never really had anything like this before. I mean... we have had Krampus, but Krampus doesn't have fucking shit on Godzilla or King Kong. So I'm very curious to see how it unfolds. They are just throwing in the hits on this. I cannot wait to see how they're pulling this off. Man, they are really trying. I feel like they've fired off whatever their cinematic team was, whatever their storyline team was. They brought in new people. Maybe it was the acquisition. I don't know, but it is hot right now, and I am all about it.
I agree with you. They clearly are doing it. In addition to what else was kind of teased in this trailer, you can clearly see there's a new weapon coming, and they also teased what seems like a lot of zombies type content.
What's new?
So yeah, a lot of excitement, new meta shaking up, new guns coming. But speaking of new guns, it seemed like playing with you this week, you were kind of getting a little busy with the Vargo. Any thoughts on that before we move on?
Yeah, it was funny, constantly discussing what weapons I'm using, how I'm like kind of looking for things, how I'm kind of like in this rut. Not a rut, but we have discussed in depth the KGM 40, and I really like the Cooper, and the car is obviously like a staple of mine, especially on Rebirth Island. But I realized this week, I unlocked the Vargo. I unlocked it, and I like kind of forgot about that. So I was like, oh shit, well, I'll load that up. I'll play with the Vargo, see how it is. I really like the Vargo. Long story short, I think it's a really, really good weapon. Even at like lower build outs, I this sounds so cliche, but I really like the way that weapon sounds and feels. The way that weapon, like just the way it fires, like for me, the fire rate on the Vargo is like the perfect fire rate. It's not too fast. It's not too slow. It hits hard enough. It's just like kind of like everything I want in a weapon. And to be totally transparent here, I think I only have it at a level 26 right now. And I've got a very simple loadout on it, but I could see the Vargo becoming a staple of the Cowboys loadouts. I really like the Vargo. Again, after the KGM 40 discussion and you twisting my arm and torturing me to create these like top 5 weapons that the Cowboys had in the history of Warzone, I'm going to be very careful with how I step into how much I like a weapon. But as of right now, I really like the Vargo. I think it's a great weapon. And I know you like it too, right? You're running it.
Yeah, I do. Slander against me aside, I said it's one of my favorite weapons. I love it. I'm with you. I like using it. Like, it feels clean. It feels like a very prototypical AR. And again, you haven't even leveled it up all the way, but I'm sure you can feel like very low to zero recoil. It's not as beastly as it was. It has been nerfed a bit, but it's definitely, I feel like, meta for an AR. And for Rebirth, I think a lot of the engagements you have, it's really well suited for that.
Yeah, I agree. I think, again, I'm at level 26, so I don't have like the classic great build out for it. I don't have like that meta build, but I do think that it has the characteristics of a great AR. It hits hard. If you hit your shots, and even if you hit a couple of shots, like you're fucking hitting people hard, and I hate to admit this and I've literally told people this as we're playing this week. Everyone's like, oh, you're running the Vargo. That's great. Like, how do you like it? Da, da, da. It almost reminds me of the Cold War AK-47, which I know you've had a love affair with. We don't need to go down that rabbit hole. I know you love that weapon. It reminds me of a blend of like an AK-47 and like I want to say an XM4 almost. Like this, like more like stable, quicker, like less large. It's a more reliable AK-47, I think. To me.
Yeah. But I think, the reload animation and all that are probably copy and pasted from the AK, which is super fast. It's almost weird. Like, I feel like with that gun, there's certain reloads. I don't know if it's like an irregular thing, but you'll get one that just feels incredibly fast. So great all around AR. If you have it, check it out. Now is the time to unlock it. Because clearly a season 3 is coming where we're going to be getting some new guns. I got to imagine those blueprints are going to be tied to some powerful weapons. If they're going to do Godzilla and King Kong.
Let's explore that actually. I want to ask you, what do you think? What do you think? If there's a Godzilla build, what is the gun going to be?
I bet it's going to have some gnarly tracers that are like, like the fucking, again, I need to know the technology or whatever is the powers of the Godzilla, but whatever he blasts, like lightning bolts from his fucking mouth or whatever. Then with King Kong, I think Godzilla's definitely like AR, and then King Kong, maybe like an LMG, like a fucking pummel you, like, doof, 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 you kind of think.
Interesting.
King Kong,
yeah.
I don't know.
I'm going to take a totally different approach to this. And I just want everyone to just expand their minds for a moment. Imagine a rocket launcher called the Godzilla that has like some kind of tracing capability that explodes green or like bluish green, very like a kind of like an LED style like explosion, and it's fucking like the best rocket launcher anyone's ever seen. I think there's going to be a Godzilla rocket launcher. I'm just throwing that out there, just putting it out there in the ether. We'll see what happens. I'm just saying it. King Kong to me is an LMG. Godzilla is a fucking rocket launcher.
Well, if they were to do that, A, would be a legendary prediction. But B, It would be cool and so true to Godzilla, because I feel like in all the modern movies, what's the first thing they do when Godzilla comes to town?
They shoot
call up the
fucking rockets.
Air Force.
100%.
They send some jets after him or airplanes, and Godzilla fucks them out of the sky, like
literally swatting them out of the
zone.
sky, just getting rid of them. 100%.
So,
That's what I'm talking about.
I think it's a valid metaphor. If they were to execute that, huge kudos. But we will, of course, be tracking it, as always, give you the updates.
Before we move on, just a fucking side question here. And this might be a very conspiratorial idea, but I'm going to go down this rabbit hole because this is our podcast and we could say whatever the fuck we want. What if they are holding out the aircraft, as in helicopters and airplanes, because the only way that you can get rid of Godzilla is to shoot them down with missiles out of aircraft, and they've intentionally taken them out, and they're going to reintroduce them as the buff to get rid of these monsters that are coming in? Because as you said, whenever Godzilla comes to town, or fucking King Kong, it's always an air assault. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I love the enthusiasm. I love the excitement, but not to deflate it. But as I said, if you would pay attention, the vehicles were re-enabled on the 13th. So the vehicles are
that's
back.
right. I
passing.
definitely forgot about that. Okay, well, what about the airplanes? What about the airplanes?
Yeah,
where are the airplanes?
That's true. Where are the airplanes? Maybe they'll come back, but there'll be a new foe to take them down. Not as overpowered as we've touched on about the lack of, locking on rockets. But that said, in terms of Rebirth editions, another surprise this week, and it wasn't just like a new Rebirth Reinforced event. It was a new playlist, which they kind of had promised. And we had seen Iron Trials Rebirth Duos. Well, they introduced Iron Trials Rebirth Trios. I, unfortunately, as the time of this recording, was unable to play that, but I believe you, Cowboy, got your feet wet on Rebirth Iron Trials Rebirth. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely played it, and it was fantastic. I dropped in with a couple of good friends, and we got back-to-back wins right off the bat, which was very, very unusual for an Iron Trials situation, but we did win back-to-back. We lost our third game, and then I believe we picked you up and then just dropped in regular quads, didn't get a victory, but we were winning before you joined. So it was really fun, really different. I mean, again, like when you're entering into Iron Trials, you unfortunately have to step away from the sniper, because a headshot does not mean an instant down. It is only a crack and like a little bit more damage. So I was running, I believe, the Vargo at a level 25 build. I was just running the Vargo paired with a short range Cooper carbine. Really fun. I enjoy Iron Trials, and it's a trip going from Iron Trials back to like regular, because dude, you have to hit your shots in Iron Trials. Like, you have to hit so many shots to down somebody. So you really have to focus in on like hitting that individual's head, face, chest, whatever. I enjoy the mix-up of Iron Trials. And it sounds like you didn't play any Iron Trials this week.
Unfortunately, didn't get a shot. As you said, it was a quad situation when I was playing with this out. Do you have a preference? What do you think's better, or they're both good for, Rebirth Iron Trials Duos versus Rebirth Iron Trials Trios? Was it more fun, less fun, just as fun?
Just as fun. I wouldn't say... it's just a different mentality. I don't prefer one thing over the other. I don't prefer Iron Trials over regular quads or regular trios. I think they're all great, and it's different. I mean, honestly, I think it depends on where I'm at as a sniper. If I'm feeling the vibe and I'm going to hit some headshots, then I'm fucking going regular. But if I'm in a funk and I'm going to hit my headshots and I'm just not feeling good about like how I'm sniping, Iron Trials is a nice little switch up. So I don't know. I don't really have a preference. Do you have a preference?
I think it's nice to have that variety. I'm curious though how trios work, because again, we talked about, I thought duos was really well suited for it. Trios, I don't know. I don't think I've ever played an Iron Trials trio of anything, but maybe not. But I'm curious to dig in. I like I got to imagine what's next then is Iron Trials quads, which, if I don't get a taste of trios, got to get a taste of that. But love the focus on Rebirth. Love the new additions. Love what's potentially coming with Godzilla and King Kong.
There's a lot. I literally, and I know we just like spent 10 minutes on this. I cannot fucking wait to see how they introduce these monsters. I cannot wait.
Well, we talked about at the outset that there's so much coming to Warzone, which we've covered now, but there's also so much coming to the Warzone Amateur Hour community and podcast. As I've said, we've made some technological additions, and what that means and going to allow us is to be able to take some live call-ins. So the Cowboy and I are thinking we'll be setting up a live broadcast session where you all can tune in and take part in a live podcast recording with the Tron and the Cowboy. We'll be turning to our audience for live question and answer period. Any thoughts on the potential for this coming down the line?
No, I mean, I think it's fantastic. I think we have some enthusiastic listeners that would love to call in, which I think is great. I love having like candid conversations with people. You know, I mean, you and I talk all the time. I think this could be very fantastic. I mean, I'm curious how this is going to look, how this is going to feel, how this is going to sound. Like, what are we just going to take random call-ins? Like, how are we going to do this? Like, do we, you know, are we taking questions of the week? Are we taking, I don't know. I think it opens up a lot of doors, which is really exciting. So, yeah, I mean, get ready for it. I mean, we've kind of set up a new platform to allow for this, so we're going down that rabbit hole, right?
Yeah, and I think the way the format will work, we'll have to tweak it, but you'll be able to join and submit a request to hop on, and so you'll be able to type in essentially, I think, a question, and so we'll screen those questions. I gotta imagine we got to give priority to any patron listeners that hop into that for supporting us.
Yeah, 100%.
But that said, get your questions ready. More to come on that. I know weeks prior we talked about the potential for us going big league here on the Warzone Amateur Hour and dipping our toes into the pool of paid advertising. Well, this episode you're listening to should be ad-free, but that might be changing in the coming weeks as we've kind of signed the dotted line, or I don't know if it's dotted or solid, but some sort of line we've signed. We got two fantastic advertisers that want to support the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. So get ready for some announcements on that in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. And people that have actually paid attention and, followed what we do, we're just a couple of average fucking guys. We literally just love talking about Warzone. We sit down once a week and have a genuine conversation about what the fuck's going on in this game. And all of a sudden people are approaching us saying like, hey, we'll give you a little bit of money. And let me emphasize, a little bit of money to fucking, maybe mention our products on your show. Yeah, we're going to fucking take that fucking bait. And the other amazing thing is that Tron posed the question to our Discord community. Would it bother you guys if we did paid advertisements? Would this be something that because this is new for us. We're not we're not fucking marketing guys. We're not sitting here trying to make $1 million off this thing. But we don't want to, really rustle the foundation of this podcast. So we posed it to the Discord and the response was so overwhelmingly positive. And it's actually incredibly heartwarming that people understand it and they're into it and they're so supportive of us doing red paid ads on the pod. So I think that it's inevitable that that's going to start happening soon. We're working with a couple of different sponsors that have to kind of work around the HR approach of I'm the 10-Inch Cowboy. How does that fit into a marketing plan? And we'll see how that works out. That's kind of a hiccup. It's been a little bit of a hiccup, but I think it's going to work out in a very positive way for our advertisers. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I have to say, what I might take away most from all of this is obviously, we'll get a little bit of financial support, but really to pose that question to the community and to hear, as the Cowboy said, such an overwhelmingly supportive and positive response was incredibly, rewarding in and of itself. So thank you to everyone that took part in that poll that posted on our Discord. That all of you that have lent your support, we value our community and we didn't want to fucking rock the boat. All right, so we reached out. We hope that is, a representative response we got. Obviously, we can't hear from all of you. We wish we could. But just know any sort of advertising, if you're able to even support those products, you'll be helping us directly. This new platform we've invested on, to allow call-ins. There's other innovations we want to make. This is, we're not trying to be millionaires out there, but we are fucking dedicated to growing this media empire.
Yeah. It's going to be fantastic. And I cannot, I don't know if there's like rules or regulations around like doing podcast reads, but I got some thoughts about our sponsors in very positive ways. Don't take that the wrong way. I am excited to dig in and really like pitch it, baby. You know what I mean?
Well, so much to dig into these coming weeks. So much we dug into this episode, but that is going to do it for us this week on the Warzone Amateur Hour podcast. Thank you all so much for dropping in with us. As always, please subscribe, follow wherever you get your podcast. If your app allows you to leave a review, please do so. Our YouTube, we're so close to hitting 400 subscribers, but we've hit a bit of a plateau this week. So if you can get out there, recruit your friends, pull up to a stoplight, you see a guy on the corner, say, hey, fucking subscribe to the Warzone Amateur Hour on YouTube. They need it. The guy will probably be like, okay, buddy. And then just, get the word out there. Right, Cowboy?
Yeah, I mean, you think that it doesn't matter. It's funny, actually, like we do this podcast. We have a YouTube channel. We do all the shit. I watch fucking streamers, and I love watching. Dr. Disrespect is my favorite streamer. And I won't go too deep into this, but like, he'll like casually mention, oh yeah, like the video, subscribe. If you're not a subscriber, subscribe. Like from our perspective, now that we do this, it actually makes an incredible difference if you do that. So like, even if you're like half warm on us, even if you're half warm, fucking click that button, baby. Hit that subscribe button. Please share it with a friend. Like if it actually means everything to us. So we really appreciate it if you already done it. And please, share it with someone if you can.
Yeah, these big streamers, they get 4 or 5 followers in a day. They don't blink a fucking eye, but us, that's something we're going to cheer for. That's going to make our day. It's going to help the Warzone Amateur Hour grow, which only is going to allow us to invest more time and energy, but we love it all. We love you all. We're excited for what's to come as, again, Season 3 coming and big monsters changes potentially coming with it.
Who doesn't fucking love monsters? Am I the only one that's fucking insanely excited about this? I feel like I know you're excited, Tron. I know you are.
Well, we need to hear from you all out there. How hyped are you for this? We'll talk to you all next week. As always, and always know that until then, we wish you
good luck in the gulag.